They're gonna hear us breathing.
Right.
Underneath the mask.
He's like, right.
Good.
Sorry to hear that, it's just tough, big families, yeah. And then big families, it happens more than, I know you're the same way, it just seems like once it starts, it goes quick. Well, Darryl, this might be a good time.
Okay, so these are long for a reason.
Oh,
Yeah.
What's that?
My reference. Flying over here.
I walk in and see people walk.
I'll bring it closer if I can talk. I don't need everybody hearing me breathe.
That was really good.
Yeah, that's
Be like, what about a tip, and we'll talk.
Just have, give you a $20 bill.
Oh, I order ahead. The $20.
Break my laptop.
Well, they're pretty on it, they got it there, yeah.
We don't need to listen to these work sessions, right?
No.
You got that there, man?
It did. My whole plan was right out the window. Right out the window.
You get to sit in the hot seat.
Oh, I wish they would have remembered how they got that real master. They just feed my beard in my mouth.
I guess maybe 81.
Actually.
Oh, I can squeeze in a little smaller space.
Oh, we'll be all right. Isn't it?
Almost as tall as you.
And when Linda is joining us via Zoom.
And Chris called me and he won't be
Yeah.
here for the workshop,
They were all.
but he will be here, he believes, for the, regular meeting. When he talked to me, it was in Meeker, so I do think he was, making time for any of the workshops.
Call me too.
And Jackson, everyone's in Meeker.
I said, I don't know if you're gonna make.
All right, is everybody ready? All right, I'll call this workshop to order at 6:04. The first thing on the agenda for this work session is to discuss proposed changes to the municipal code. Oh, are these longer or what? That's weird.
Yeah.
Full five all out.
Longer and mandatory.
All this water made him grow.
Maybe I was getting shorter. So, we're here to talk about the, let's see, the permits, about the flat work permit. So, I guess I, will turn the floor over to you, Community Development Director, Lou.
There's been questions on the, 5x5 or less. After looking at the ordinance that was adopted, in our IRC code, has that, page here before
When you say IRC code, what does that mean?
that's the International Residential Code,
Okay,
that's
okay,
what we're
thank you.
following now.
Gotta remember who you're talking to here. No.
Under section R105 has permits. It also has permit. You go to the other page, it has sidewalks and driveways that would be exempt. permits,
The what in driveways?
sidewalks and driveways.
Okay.
So, as far as the ordinance, still trying to figure out why fire permits when it's required in IRC. That was the first part that I thought. I would like to see, maybe direction as far as size. Most of our residential, home sections, they have, if you put a square foot building on a lot, it has to have some type of permanent foundation. And to me, if we follow as is recommended, or council wants to see, we need to come up with a happy meeting place where it's user-friendly for everybody. I figured, 5x5, that's 25 square feet. So 25 square feet or that would require the permit.
And that 25 square feet in the codes that you were talking about, does it address the square footage, or, I didn't understand that, I'm sorry.
It does not, Mayor. I was just going off of the information that was given to us for a 5x5, or less. So if we go 5x5 greater, fire permit at that point, then, it would be covered for driveways or sidewalks if we choose to follow the code.
And the sidewalks and driveways are already exempt from that.
Yes.
What about pavers?
It don't have anything about pavers in here. I know that was a question that we had the last time. Pavers, myself, should be met. It's decorative stone that you're.
Councilman Durst.
So is there, this is like the International Building Code, right? It's just basically a nationally accepted list of things that we would ask for a permit in a normal,
Yes, sir.
is that correct?
Yes.
So, I'm sorry. So is there anything in that book that does require permits at the moment? I mean, is what concrete work would require a permit?
We have our foundations. Usually when you pull the building permit, you would have, for new construction, you would have foundations, driveway, sidewalk is all included in on that one permit.
It's just all the concrete work together?
Anything structural, anything over 4 foot has to be engineered. So if you got a home with a full basement and you got 8 foot walls, that has to be engineered.
Okay, so then but according to that, so we build a house, we get all that engineered, we're good to go, and then we wanna put in a driveway. This is saying that would not require any kind of permit, and that basically a homeowner, according to that, would be free to just put any kind of flat work down without permit, is that
Yes.
correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Vice Mayor Wells.
So, we approved this based on the last person's recommendation. What are your, do you even need this flat work?
Honestly, I think
Flat work,
we're too
permit?
restrictive in some of our codes. At the last meeting I was at, if we're putting sidewalk in and we're putting in an 80 standards we have to follow by ADA. With the 5x5, you figure sidewalk is 4x4.
So really, this would really only apply to like a patio or additional.
Right, and that's why I looked in our municipal code today to see what the requirements were for the foundations for an accessory building. It has to be a like material, so you put a skid structure in and you want to put it so it's not settling, then by all means, up to 2.
Kind of just feel like put in a process based off the last person's recommendations, and now we're not there anymore.
Well, I think the sales pitch last time was a bit faulty, and I'll tell you what struck me about it was, you know, you have to get a permit so that you can't put a building on it. Well, that doesn't stop or speed up or anything. If you put down I mean, there are two different issues, you know, it's like, flat work's one thing, putting up a building anytime, anywhere, if it's close to the sides or the setbacks aren't right, that's a whole different issue. So, I didn't really like the sales pitch to start with as to why to make this restrictive. I just don't think we need it.
That's kind of where I'm at too.
I think we can be so picky here in Rollins, we could just stop a lot of good things from happening, and if there was added protection, and I've thought about what you've talked about, Councilman Durst, about, finding out there's utilities under something or whatever, they bought a permit or didn't buy a permit, it wouldn't, 10 years from now, when you sell your house, that's not gonna be in the records anywhere. I mean, that wouldn't even show up on title insurance. Now, if there were easements, that would show up on title insurance, but, where there's not necessarily easements, wouldn't be. I mean,
Well, theoretically, a permit stays with the file of the house until the house no longer exists, right? I mean, if I pull a permit, doesn't matter how long ago it was, the permit's gonna stay in that file, isn't that correct?
Yes, we have all our files archived downstairs. I have some from back in 1960, the house was originally built. There's a time frame in there that some of the files are missing. I don't know what transition, them files got lost in. Downstairs and pick any address and permits that have been pulled, the records are in there.
but when you buy title insurance, do they go pull those files? I don't think they do.
No, they don't. Or say I wanna buy a house and I'm looking to see how much are pulled for it, and they do a written request at our office, pull the file, they look at it in front of us and get the information they need, and, they're on their way.
How often does that happen, Lou?
We do get quite a few requests for, property files.
What's quite a few?
Um,
I'm not trying to
No,
be real specific,
No,
just trying to get an idea.
even like, the home inspectors will pull just to see what's done, so, probably in a month you're getting,
Mayor,
A month length of time?
a month.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry. Councilman Smith, you had something?
yeah, generally, real estate folks, will go to the city to pull the permits when there's questions on sewer lines. And if there've been any foundations or anything like that, and a lot of that, goes to fireplaces. So that's what we would ask for if we were to, go do research on permits through the city. The title company doesn't do it, no, but we sometimes rely on some of the work that has been done previously to show what has occurred on that property. Thought I'd offer that.
Thank you. Councilman Garner?
Lou, I got a quick question. Can you walk us through the process if somebody wants to do flat work? When you come to the site, what are you documenting for the permit?
Documenting, for the, let's say, what I'll do is I'll look to make sure there's question that comes out of my mouth is, and they say yes, we look at the site, and at that point, determine if it's gonna be, you can tell, most of the times that there's, especially if you're doing monolithic slab, we just stick around and they approve a patio, and in a year, taken on, in a year from now, if the house I pulled the permit, I'll look at the permits, and I can see that there was permit pulled for flat work, now we got this addition on the back. It's a process that we'll look, get.
So if you go out and you do the site visit, are you documenting where the lines are? Because the one call only brings it up to the property line. They don't go all the way to the house with it.
Gas company does.
Yes, yeah, and then electrical, if it's not overhead, correct?
Right.
But sewer and water, it's to the edge of the property.
We stop right at the property line.
So, and I think that's your concern, is knowing where these utilities are on the property. Are you documenting where the sewer and the water run, or?
I just, and really with the sewer and the water, unless they're radioing that line, we don't know where that's at. Or again, if you look at the roof and see area that's in the front.
And if your recommendation is to not build there, they can still put the patio there if they want, they can put it over the top of the lines. They don't have to follow the recommendation.
Yeah, our recommendation would be not to try and that's a chance they take if put that in there.
Right.
And electric gas line,
Gotta tear through it.
out or go around it.
So the documentation is going to show exactly where those utilities are, or?
I usually try and get pictures of where they come in,
Mhm.
whether it's the paint marks or the flags that are stuck in it. I usually try and document.
But it won't be all the utilities, correct?
Who else has a question?
I'm just curious, would this cause you heartburn if we just,
No, like I said, and I think a lot of instances and too restrictive on, not as restrictive on.
Councilman Durst?
So, I guess there, I answer, yes, that was my concern. I'll be honest with you though, I'm hearing what that book has to say. I'm also not really looking to jump on the wagon of making a bunch of codes past what that residential code book says. So hearing that, I'm on that a little bit. And I still argue that it was a 50-50. Like, I don't, I might have been trying to put the city in a position to babysit too much, right? I freely admit that maybe that was, I might have been looking at that. But yes, in my argument, it was to protect somebody from doing that. For example, in my property, I've got from the alley, my gas runs through under one property and under a driveway to get to my house. Granted, if you redo that driveway, there's clearly, I mean, the gas line's where the gas line is, right? You can't redo it, but arguably, the idea was that if somebody else came into there, then they may have a heads up of what was going on. And maybe I'm asking too much of the city in that regard as well.
I don't, that's what,
Does that make sense?
yeah, it does. And what if when somebody buys a house, that has to be disclosed? It has to be done before a purchase is done,
Well,
just so people know. I mean, that's what we're trying to, that was the whole idea, is to let people know where these utility lines are, to protect them. That,
but the title insurance, like when you buy a house or whatever, the title insurance does, like on my house, for instance, when we got our title insurance, there's like a gas line and some phone lines and some of that there's an easement. I put a fence in a place where if there's a problem with those, they could come dig up my fence pile in the corner. I realize that, but, on your title insurance, it will tell you of any easements. But it won't tell you where your sewer is or your water or whatever, but gosh, we can protect people to wind and.
Mayor?
Councilman Smith?
Yes, thank you. It occurs to me then, if the code book, the International Code Book, does not require permits, if I heard this right, does not require the permits that we're trying to enact, what we probably, my thoughts are just forget these two, go with the adoption of the codes, which we already have, and then repeal the last ordinance that we passed in December. Would that be in order? Would that fix the problem here? And then we'd just be back to the code book?
To rescind those changes would, correct me if I'm wrong, would put us back to the code book.
Yes, I think.
The code book, it's saying that sidewalks and driveways are excluded.
I'm sorry, Lou, I didn't hear you.
In the code book, Linda, I think we're too restrictive in some areas
Okay,
to, I
well,
think
that's not a fix then, okay.
if we follow the code book, it would loosen it up a little bit to more user-friendly.
Councilman Durst?
So, I guess, looking to split hairs with terminology, so if I wanna build a patio, right, versus a driveway or a sidewalk, then is the book say any flat work doesn't require permit?
As driveways and,
Specifically language with those two.
yes, sir.
So arguably, a patio, which was not used as a driveway or a sidewalk, would then fall under the need for a permit?
Well, and that's where
Or is that where we need to decide what we want
I
to do?
think that's where council needs to decide. But in this work session, it was 5x5 or less area. If we do a 5x5 or greater, which gives us 5 square feet, and you want to do a 10x10, that's 100 square foot area for your patio. At that point, that there has to be a permit. Either that 5x5 or less. And then council sets the requirement for a size to require a permit. 5x5 greater. To just do that area.
In flat work in general, or just as a patio or non-driveway, non-sidewalk build?
Flat work in general for patios or go with we're exempt in the code book from sidewalks and driveways, so that eliminates that right off the top. So you wanna put for instance, I got an issue now where from concrete in their whole yard, no one calls hydrant there. permit requirement for that. So, on the city side, I go with the 5x5 or greater, all the people that are want to get away from.
Okay, so your terminology would read effectively, when it comes to concrete flat work, driveways and sidewalks would be exempt. Any other flat work, 5x5 or greater, would require a permit.
Yes,
Is that
that's,
also exempting paver stones or paver walks? Or, I don't know what the industry language is, right, but pavers or brick style.
brick stone is, it is. Yeah, that would also be exempt from,
That makes sense to me.
I'm feeling
So
sort of.
this gets back to. how
I
this
think
all
that
started.
makes, I think that makes sense too, and then particularly if you add the language that DeVore was talking about previously, is we wouldn't require replacement or a permit for replacement or repairs of existing flat work.
That
That
was
work?
the question about the subject of, was a gentleman's come over to my house. He had to have a permit, to fix his driveway because it was crumbling. Oh, so then I brought this up and they said, you did. Got a way so people could move their property without having to get a permit for. But you answered it, driveways and.
Driveways and sidewalks would be exempt.
I think that's something I could put my, Brian, what do you think?
The ball in there is just too. But 5x5, another 5x5, 5x5, and just keep going. I don't wanna see more restriction, I wouldn't mind seeing. Worry is the utility lines, that's what we focus on. Oh, speed. Sorry, we have all the permit requirements for structural buildings. That's just,
And I think the gas company keeps. My property, I replaced all the gas lines. So they had me replace them, all meters in the alley now.
Well, and with gas, what used to happen is the line would run right in the house. And if you had a leak a block away, it would creep down that hole and get in your house. Now they have risers, I don't know, that's way old stuff, but now, if, let's say you have a gas line problem underneath your patio, they just go to that end and go around it. Instead of digging it up, it's more expensive, obviously, than thought, but you're gonna get a new gas line on there, and I'll get through that too. Ours didn't have a riser, but then when they did that street, that was a long time ago, but when they did that street, they had that riser right outside that building, so that, like I say, if you had a leak, it wouldn't follow the pipe in that hole and go in your house. This way it would be out of your house. And so, what if we made it, Lou, that we didn't, what if we didn't require a permit for the flat work? Tell me the downside to that.
there we would get to have setbacks that we would have to follow. Say, I decide to put a shed in my yard,
Yeah, but no shed, we're talking about flat work. The shed thing's a different situation.
I just think that if we don't have some kind of requirement for flat work, that'd be user in our office. So if somebody comes up and they wanna say, I wanna put this tap in my yard, 99.95% of the people were honest that way up front that this was for flat work, or again, do away with it. Downfalls, we might see structure at a later date. You don't meet a flat work garage. I think that would be the biggest downfall.
But that's two different issues, that's like, you know, suddenly the building that appears and it doesn't meet requirements needs to suddenly disappear, and that's just the way it should be. You build a, you know, ask Kanye West, you know, build a building and don't have a building permit and it doesn't meet the requirements, you have to fix that. You have to tear it down, cut it off, make it smaller, whatever. Doing flat work and getting a building permit for a building, to me, are like there's no commonality, because you could build a building without a cement floor too. So then we would have to disallow dirt, you know? So, I mean, just because the flat work's there doesn't mean they will or won't build a building. I mean, they're that kind of person, they would.
And I struggle with this, because I get what you're saying, and so, if you have a permit on that, then you can have in file that says, this flat work was allowed, it was discussed that they can't put a building, blah, 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 because on the flip side, what happens is suddenly the building appears, says, oh, I talked to Lou said it was all right.
Yeah, but show me the building permit where you applied to the building.
Well, but I'm just saying that if you have some traction in the file that says, then you don't get in a he said, she said, you just pull the file and say, well, that's not at all what you said.
Yeah, but there's no he said, she said about it. Either you have a building permit to build a structure, or you don't have a building permit to build a structure.
Well, I think we all know it's not that simple in this town.
No, it is that simple.
Well,
You either have a permit, or the building's an illegal building.
okay, but.
If I understand correct, even if you give a recommendation, they can do the flat work. There's nothing stopping them from doing the flat work once they put the request in. All you're doing is documenting. So he can give them recommendation and they can follow through with it or not, but they can still, flat works, you can do whatever flat work you want. It's not illegal to do flat work. You don't have, you know, what you can do. So you just, work permit, do whatever you want, recommendation, or all it does is tells you where some of your utilities are, but not all your utilities. That's why I go back to, if it's about utilities, we don't even want to recommend this, but can we not just say, if you sell a house or buy a house for this, the utility lines coming into this place need to be disclosed where they're at, by seller or buyer. Somebody has to get that documentation. That's essentially what you're looking for, right?
I mean, that's a big part of it, yes.
Yeah.
But I would say the only issue.
What's the other issue?
The idea of, I understand the need to look at this from all things good and honorable. I'm looking at it from all things dishonorable and bad, right? The point of this is to prevent extra hardships. And I'm not sure, I don't know, I really admit that this is not
And I guess that's,
perfectly clear, but I'm gonna err on the side of protecting the community
and
over
that's,
$25 permit. If I think that that's gonna protect more people than it's gonna hurt, I will err in that way.
I guess that's where my point is. Getting the permit doesn't protect them. They still can put the flat work down wherever.
But if I go pull the file, then that permit should be there with all of the information. That's what I'm saying, is the long term.
And you're looking for where the utilities are, correct? That's what the purpose of the file is?
Well, I mean, that would be a part of it. You could also know that the flat work was done properly. I mean, was it?
Are you guys going back to check the flat work's done properly, or you're just
They'll,
recommending,
no, a lot of times what they'll do is do the site visit, and they'll call to close the file. We'll go back and get a picture. At that point, we put on there that work was done as per requested, and I put on my ticket that it close the file.
But you didn't check the compaction
Don't see that.
and take a sample of the cement to see if it's 3,500 pound or 5,000 pound or, I mean, I know you don't do all that stuff, cause it would be crazy to do it, but
And I believe, that the batch plant here in town follows YDOT specifications, Class B concrete.
yeah, but I'm gonna mix my own. Let's just say somebody says I'm gonna mix my own. So how do you test that?
Zachary has the same requirement for PSI. We don't have, the equipment to do density tests.
Yeah, and I'm glad you don't, but I mean, I think it's worthless to have that information if somebody wants to do flat work, but the protections
it's visual.
aren't really there.
Right, it's all visual, the protection that you're signing off on is you verify, yes, it's in there. The same as what the buyer's gonna see. Look at it, and they can see it's cracked and falling apart, or maybe anything he's seen, yeah, it looks good, but I guess there's not, having it signed off on isn't guaranteeing that work is done correctly.
No, and I understand that. I understand this isn't a promise or a guarantee from the city. I guess it, to me, is just a step that we've made an effort to try and protect the citizen. One small step. It's not huge. It's, I mean, and I understand the failings. I can personally attest to where some of this stuff fails on my own personal stuff, and that's part of where I take this from is, I'm one of those people that moved in here from out of town, and I'm suffering because people did shoddy work, right? So I have to take the brunt of that. So I'm just trying to make sure that what we're doing protects community in the future, right? From the do-it-yourself, the middle-of-the-night guy, I'm not denying a homeowner the right to do that, but I am denying their right to do it crappily and not for the next person to buy into. And that's all I'm looking for, right? Just,
Yeah, but
I don't know.
when I sell my house, or what if I didn't paint it right? I mean.
We're not talking about paint, Terry, we're
Yeah,
talking
I know,
about
but
structural. We're talking about,
but it's about the same thing.
well, but it's not, we're talking about structural.
Cement can look really, really good. Maybe a half-inch thick
I
and
understand.
fail. And, I mean, just getting a permit or not getting a permit, I don't see the protections of.
Well, and I guess this is where I struggle, because when I had my concrete inspected, we had to compact it, and then the guy came over and he verified that it was compacted. He verified we were gonna have 4 inches to pour. He verified that there was rebar, which I guess now some of that doesn't require rebar. So all of that was inspected when I was inspected pouring concrete.
Is that for structural?
For everything, driveways, sidewalks, it didn't matter. Everything was inspected. And first you had to compact it, and then they came and inspected your compaction, and they verified that you would have the 4-inch concrete, and that the rebar was all through there. And once that was signed off on, then we could pour the concrete.
My understanding, we're not doing that for flat work.
No rebar. So they
And then,
got fiber mesh.
but no compaction test. And then if it is,
We have a grading W base, and mix it properly and run it, that stuff sets up like.
if it is wrong, when you go back, document that it's wrong, or do they have to take it out, put it back in, or is it just?
A lot of times what you'll see is acting it with moisture, so that's doing, it's just on the rock. By the time they get done, the powder coming up is, and they redo it. We are watching that, especially with, anything that we'll look at, and we document it. Month or two driveway, my driveway's cracking, what happened? There was a step miss. You don't know, 10, that we're action just out of the gravel. So there is, 2015, we have requirements for reading of, so back when I was at the highway department, I had a +2 or -4 for moisture. So if you go over on the plus side, action 95 to 99%. If you stay where it's real wet, when your cylinders on it, it's gonna be harder to make that.
There's no way for the city to test that, correct?
No.
So, in here, I mean, if we can't check it, there's no way to test it, and we make it a requirement, then,
If we made it a requirement, then we would be more trying to get away from restrictive, friendly, instead of adding all this on.
I'm as on the fence now as I've ever been.
well, I think we can protect ourselves too much and protect people too much. I mean, I understand building codes, I know why they're there. And honestly, if you build a house in Rollins, Wyoming to the very minimum building codes, you got a 10-year house, the wind will blow it over. I mean, the minimum standards are not that high. They're not that high of a reach, but again, do you want to put in a crappy patio at your house, and what do I care? Now, I care if it goes into the neighbor's yard, or if it somehow, doesn't meet certain setbacks or whatever, but, as far as quality, we don't have any way to check that quality. We can't insist on a quality we can't check.
If you had a pole barn, close the door, put your flooring in there, nobody's gonna. Pole barns, and when you look at them, the dirt floors, and all of a sudden, later, it's close the door, they make sure. The whole intent that I had was to just try to help people, properties out, that's all I wanted, and solve that problem, so huge.
Well, I don't know, it's huge. I think the question is, I think the code says no driveways and no sidewalks, and I think we all agree that we don't wanna make that more restrictive. So right now, the argument is, do we wanna set one that says for flat work outside of sidewalks and driveways, the recommendation of greater than 5 by 5, do we wanna do that or do we not? That's really the only thing at issue at the moment that I'm aware of.
The only thing I see is if you're putting a pad for a patio, then now you're gonna have to get a hold of the building inspector to build the patio, so you'll know that the cement's low. Then you know that the building's either too close, or that helps a little bit.
Patios require,
What's that?
do patios require
Does anybody have a problem with me taking a
No,
comment
you're
from
going
there?
to be Joe.
Yes, sir. You can speak from there if you can speak loud enough.
I'm Joe Garcia. I'm a local contractor, very small contractor, licensed and insured. I tell my customers, you guys make this permit, it's a protection to them and to me. So, unlicensed contractor is not gonna go into City Hall, not gonna go get a license for a customer. That's one protection, right? Contractor goes in, permit.
Okay.
Contractor does shoddy work. Homeowner could call the building inspector. Building inspector could give that information to the homeowner, and then they can make a claim against that contractor's insurance. I advocate that. Had issues in the past with fly-by-nighters in town. I have issues with people I grew up with in town that I have not told on, who are not licensed. As my company gets smaller, due to my own circumstances, I'm looking for smaller work, and I got a lot of friends who are unlicensed, and they're reaping the benefits. Or fly-by-nighters. As far as sidewalks, at the public right-of-way, to me, I think it should be inspected. Like a curb and gutter. Curb and gutter was done when another building inspector was in town a few years ago. She was very hard on me, because I had just come back out with my company, and she knew who I was. I asked her who the company was down the street, if they were licensed and insured. She says, that's none of my business, to mind my business. Back later, the curb and gutter doesn't even match the rest of the curb and gutter around it. Another one, waterworks supervisor. Called me, because I used to do a lot of this for the city. Said, hey, Joe, are you aware of the state law that came out for, corners that you have to have ADA? I said, yes, I am. Talked about it. Thanked him that for letting me know. Maybe a week goes by, he asked me to come do a bid. It's on a corner down on Walnut. I said, I'm gonna have to put in 2 ADAs, one on each side, because, the way the storm sewer was, it was right in the center. So according to state law, you have to have ADA. You can't put it in the center, so you have to have 2. Well, that's gonna double. I was charged like $6,000 for an ADA, coach for curb and gutter and sidewalk. Well, that's gonna be twice. He says, I'm not doing that. I said, what about the state law? And how hypocritical it was of him to call me a few months earlier and tell me that. I had a falling out, and I stopped doing bids for the city. I'm not trying to get people in trouble. I'm trying to say it's protection. I'm not trying to be a Nazi. You guys know I've been here 2 years ago advocating my property rights. Airlift vehicles to my property, they close, nobody cares except City Hall. My neighbors don't care, I asked them. I always had a person going through the alley, forgetting of the weeds all around me. My weeds are full, no one else's, but he's looking at my vehicles. I think if you guys have a law, stick to it, not get rid of it. As far as the public.
So that's what we're doing right now, is we're looking at this to be, was changed, and some of it's not right. We're trying to fine tune it and get it right. So as far as the weeds and the cars and all that, that's another conversation.
Yes,
But
sir, yes, sir.
I do appreciate your input on,
Thank you
the
for letting me
cement part.
speak. And,
Yeah.
definitely, I advocate the permit because it's a protection too. It can be a protection. Protects everybody all the way around. And that's what I tell all my customers. 15 years ago, we had pole barn builders in town. They did shoddy work, they got ran out of town. There's other people who did carpets in town, they were in and out, destroyed. Anyway, I'm licensed. I have a little bit of overhead, not like Shepherd or how Olson used to be. I used to work for Olson for a lot of years. I don't have that overhead, but I have overhead to the people who do. And those people, most of those people, they have the experience, but they don't have the technical education, whether they're supervisor time or they went to school. That to me is, so thank you for letting me speak, and that's why I was here.
thank you. to it, I don't wanna make people buy more licenses than they need or whatever, but with everything I've heard here tonight, I would be personally, I would be okay with, 5x5 and above needing, after hearing everything I've heard tonight. We can address it again later if we find that that doesn't work, but I agree, there does need to be out-of-town contractors. I moved here was in 1978, and oh my goodness, it was growing like crazy, and, there was one guy bought a house, and I remember his floor cracked, and the cement was 1 inch thick, where the contractor charged him for the whole cement garage floor, and took several $1,000s home with him that should have been laying there in that garage as cement. So, really are doing the before and after and whatnot inspections, and ensuring that that quality of work's being done. I guess that's where I'm gonna land at.
If we're
Councilman Garner.
do it, we need to get them the equipment. They can write it down and say, yeah. His argument with having coming from outside and doing this work, we don't have a way to make sure it's done correctly. Write that down with documentation. Still don't see a point, so I think that equipment properly.
Well,
Otherwise, it's just.
I'm not sure what that kind of equipment would cost you, Lou.
Find out, because it's not gonna cost the city, it's just gonna cost Lou.
Yeah. Well, I think that might be a step two, Councilman Garner, to be honest with you, that very well might be. And if Rollins grows like I think it's gonna, all indications are we're about to take off. If that being the case, then that might be necessary equipment, so that is something I'd ask you to look into in the future. Just to
At
see,
least know what it would cost, right?
yeah, know what it costs, or know why we can't afford it, or why we can, or that sort of thing.
If that could even be split with another community.
Any more discussion? Mr. Martinez?
Thank you, Honorable Mayor and Council. I think another important, aspect of this is, once the framework is done, the framing is done for any flat work is done, the concrete comes from another company. We have to go by what the company tells us is what we ordered. I mean, if we ordered a 10,000 PSI and it tests out at 3,000 PSI, it's between the contractor and the company. I mean, are we gonna sit there and monitor the contractors supplying the concrete? They have their own regulation, they got their slump test, they also require what's called a breakage test, how many PSI it takes to break that. That comes from the contractors themselves. Now, when it gets here, are they gonna add more water to the concrete while they're putting it down? I mean, there's so many different aspects into this that, I mean, you get into a federal type of, regulations on there. I mean, it's hard enough to keep somebody here and keep them in business, and now we're telling them we're making restrictions on their industry as a whole. I know somebody said something about the, Sacrete has its PSIs, but we know, and everybody knows, if you put too much water or not enough water or whatever, you're gonna have fast cracking, slow cracking. You got the weather here to contend with also. So what are we gonna do? Have a certain degree of stages for all this? Or are we gonna take the professional's word and say, I awarded 5,000, I awarded 10,000 PSI concrete to get it done? The finisher is another story all in itself. I mean, you've got all these other aspects of that. So where does that permitting really stop? Where does that guarantee for that permitting stop? If you ask that cement people, I want 5,000, they do a slump test, and they do their, PSI breakage. That's what you have. I mean, sure, I'd like to have us do that, but what are we gonna do? Cut a portion of that 5-inch or 6-inch slab, take it to a lab and break it? That's why they have it tested first when they do it. That's where the insurance and the guarantee from the company comes into place. Thank you very much for your time. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Mayor, would you recap where we're at?
Excuse me, Councilman Smith?
Yes, could you recap about basically where we're at now on this whole conversation?
Well,
I mean, have we
I
gotten to
think-
any kind of,
I think we're leaning a certain direction, Linda, but I don't think there's any conclusion. I think that, knowing that sidewalks and driveways are exempt and the repair of those are exempt, eases my mind a lot. And, I do see a need for certain flat work to have a permit. So to describe that, the description's gonna be, anything over 25 square feet. Or that's the way the conversation's headed at this point in time. I'm not saying that that's been decided on, because of course this is a workshop and we're just discussing it and can't decide it anyway, but I think that's where we're going. And then, Sean had something to say.
Comment. If our
You're gonna have to talk louder, or Linda won't be able to hear you.
okay, if we're doing a lot of the testing ourselves, I just wanted to make one, that we probably would need to look at staffing too, because how many different, slabs are going down and being able to be present at all those. We would have to have more people. And then also another comment that was asked is, this, first and foremost, this has been a super great conversation. Also like this, to maybe go to one of our boards for, let them know this conversation's taken their input, maybe one more time before it gets back to council.
I wouldn't mind having more opinions about it, but, the decision will be ours, and we've all taken a little bit of heat over this, is one of the reasons it's come up. We went so restrictive, the guy can't even fix his own hole in his sidewalk, or driveway or whatever, and that's too far. We went too far, so I wanna be reasonable. The other thing about it is we don't have the problem with faulty cement. That's not the main head of the problem here. The main head of the problem here is, people putting flat work where they're not supposed to, or whatever. It's not the quality of the flat work that's in question. It could be. That's also a problem. Like, to pour a huge slab for a patio, for instance, you gotta know your stuff, or else you're gonna end up did a little cement work, and I ain't tough enough to do it. But I don't think the issue is the quality of the cement. I think it's just a matter of its placement on, setbacks and such like that. So I think this recommendation, Lou, the 25 feet or more needs a permit. Well, how's everybody else feeling?
Again, I agree. I would err on the side of doing it, and then, again, see how it goes. If something turns around and it turns into a major headache, we can readdress it. If the first 6 permits that get pulled show that there's a whole bunch of problems, then, yeah, but I'm comfortable with it.
That answer your question, Councilman Smith?
Yes, it does, and I can get on board with it. I think it's a good consensus. Although we can't do that.
Vice Mayor Wells.
Just as the math portion, instead of doing like 5 by 5, I think we would need to go like with 25 square foot.
I do too.
Yeah.
Because, you know,
Could be
three
three
by
by, yeah,
whatever, yeah.
3 by 8,
Yeah, so,
yeah.
I agree with that.
Yeah, I think 25 square foot is better than the 5 by 5.
yeah.
Doesn't make, yeah.
Last little bit argument on it. If you do a 5 by 5, it still goes over your utility, without a permit.
Right.
However many times as you want across your yard.
I agree, and there will be people take advantage of that. But about it. Matter of fact, my whole patio is 5 by 5, because I was curious. Basketball court is not patio portion, but it was all court at one time. But it was cracked, so, because cement's gonna crack, so you make it crack where you want it to crack. Councilman Durst.
So I get where you're coming from, right? Because that's kind of my argument is absolute worst case scenario. So I would argue that we probably should just put some language in there, and then I would defer to our legal department on how that would read, right? But something to the effect of, it is not the intent of this to be able to do all these tiny little sections joined together into one, and that if, the language could say that if you're doing it that way, then it counts as one giant pad. Something to that effect.
Okay.
Time period in between boards or something to that effect. We'll have to work out the details.
Some kind of language.
But I think we agree, 80-20 rule, we agree on 80% of what we're talking about here, so that's probably a good idea. Okay. Good there? Next subject. We're gonna move to, proposed changes to the, garbage, refuge, construction, demolition, licensing. And again, I'll turn the discussion over to you, Lou, to tell us what the problems and stuff are.
After the last conversation we had, it was recommended that I excuse myself from the conversations. Not talk and stay, or leave the room?
I think since it's a workshop, you can just go where you're at, yes. And I don't know, Amy's not here, but my understanding of the conflict of interest thing is, when it gets to those sensitive things, then your presence in the room can even make a difference, and, we've all watched Perry Mason, and the guy walks in and everything changes. So, when there's a conflict of interest, your mere presence could be a problem, but tonight, where it's just a discussion, there'll be no decisions made, I think you can stay where you're at, and, make sense?
Yep.
Anybody disagree with that?
I accept.
Okay, thanks. On this garbage hauler thing, I've looked at this, and it's, there's just a ton of problems here that I see, and I'm just going to pull this up and kind of go through what I found, and, it gives the different descriptions of the haulers, and I thought a lot about what you talked about, Aaron, about what is a hauler, what isn't, generator or not, or whatever. But there are a lot of different problems with this whole section here. One of them, when you go down through here and you get to, revocation of licenses and stuff, the one thing that is left out is it doesn't appear to me that you can revoke a license for non-payment. It's not in there. That's how we got in so much trouble with the one hauler. They had hundreds of thousands they owed the city, and no one took the license away. You know what I mean? Like, how to get to there? Well, but in
They
here,
have it.
the one thing that needs to happen is, and I should have printed it out and marked it, but one of the things is, when it talks about revocation, it doesn't talk about non-payment. That's a problem to me. Another thing is, with the MSW and the, construction waste, they're two different animals. One of them, like they say, you have to put out monthly reports, who your customers are, how much you picked up from them, and so forth, like that. I can see where, for municipal waste, that might be a good fit, but for, somebody that's doing strictly C&D here and there, that's a burden. Then it talks about annual training and such like that. Do we have we given these haulers annual training, Sean?
Yes, I do.
There is annual training?
The two solid waste haulers do the training.
Okay. But you do the training, not the city, or?
No, the city does it for us.
Okay,
We do it in January.
okay. That's one thing I hadn't heard about, and I wanted to check on that. Sorry?
What I was gonna say was I remember running into this problem, and my thinking is that, I think that maybe if we discuss it, that we could lower the bond. Change the language that if you don't pay your bill, the first time you don't pay your bill, you're cut off. You don't come into the landfill. That's my take on that.
Well,
What happened was, they, got ourselves in trouble, so as a council, we decided to raise that bond to cover losses that we took. But if we would have been told from the beginning that this guy was in trouble, we could have cut it off right away, and we didn't. So, thinking about it, it seemed to me that, the fact that they have to get a bond, I don't know what these bonds cost, I'm not. I think that might help a little bit, and then changing the language to say, can't get behind.
Well, and that's what I was saying, but there's no place in here where it talks about revocation of that license. Nowhere in there does it say it can be revoked for non-payment, so we need to fix that. And then, the monthly reports is another thing, annual training. The other thing that struck me as odd, and let me go down through this and it'll kind of cover some things, is like, for instance, I understand why the people that go up and down our alleys in garbage trucks and are picking stuff up out of people's yards and stuff, I totally understand why their truck needs to be identified and that person needs to be identified. But the person that picks up a load here and there, like the one we all know about, and brings it to the landfill, why do they have to have a uniform on that says who they are? I mean, it's a completely different thing. There's two types of haulers there, but they're all required to have the uniform. Another thing is, like you say, the bond, for a guy that hauls 3 loads a month, and his bill's $1,500 or $2,000 a month, why does he have to have a $100,000 bond? If the city let the other people get so carried away, that's the city's fault, in my opinion. That's somebody should have got in trouble over that, because if they didn't pay in 2 or 3 months, they should have been cut off and no longer can use that service. But that isn't what happened. So if we give them a proper bond, like a $100,000 bond, I'm told costs $3,000 a year. To the smaller hauler, that would bankrupt them. That would mean they can't do it anymore. But if their bill is $5,000 every 3 months or whatever, or adds up to that, then their bond should be lower, $5,000. And a $5,000 to $10,000 bond would be $300 to $500. I got that information from, somebody that buys bonds, but I tried to get a hold of my insurance company today. and without knowing specifically, you know, vehicles and what they're hauling and such like that, I could not get a price on a bond. I wanted to see what exactly, but I'm told it's more like $200 to $500, which would make a lot more sense than the $3,000. The other thing is the insurance. $1 million worth of insurance is required. If you're hauling C&D, I can't see where you would need $1 million worth of insurance. It's very expensive. The person hauling it already has insurance, so we're asking them to buy insurance to cover stuff they're already insured for. That's another expense to the business that doesn't need to happen. So I think, as we approach this, I think we need to break it out in municipal waste and C&D. Right now, we have 2 municipal waste haulers, but we could have 30, really. So we have to make the rules for whoever, and then the other haulers, I think we need to, you're right, I think we need to make the bond match their size of business, and then look at some of these things like the uniforms, and if you drive in there and you're in a truck and got this card that says I work for somebody that has a license, I mean, it ain't, we're not in Chicago, we're in Rollins, you know what I mean? Does that make sense to anybody but me?
No, it's just you.
There could be some kind of tiered system.
Yeah, because like if they're billed,
Running.
you know, $1,000 a month, maybe a $3,000 bond.
Yeah.
But to ask for a $100,000 bond for everybody, that's just way too burdensome.
For the MSW though, I feel very strongly about the uniform.
I do too, because of where they go, and they're going up and down alleys, who's out in my backyard? And that's important, but these other people don't do that. So as far as their identification and stuff, that's only important when they're going to the landfill to see who to charge it to. Councilman Durst.
So, one of the, and I get, I mean, that all makes sense, I'm not against that. One of the legal arguments was just a definition of what a hauler was, right? So the point was that if somebody goes in and cleans out your house and then generates that garbage into the dumpster, then that's different than, if you just drop off a container, I go fill it up, and then you come pick it up. So my question to you is, are you looking so that any person hauling out there would have to have some type of a license and a bond at some level regardless of what they're doing? So the kid who goes in, or Linda's friend that goes and cleans out a house once or twice a month, you're saying that they would need some kind of a license and a bonding, but just relative to what they're doing? This is an asking,
No, I get it. Where do you draw the line at? The guy that hauls twice a year for $5 for the neighbor, that's crazy to make him buy a license. But where do you draw the line, and so forth and so on? Rose, you had something to say?
On how many years without anybody else having a hauler's license but the 2 haulers, why are we requesting other people to get licenses now? What happened that is making this an issue? Why can't we just make it so it's just the 2 solid waste haulers that have to have a license?
I don't disagree with that. I really don't.
Because I think we're wasting a lot of time discussing something that's probably not necessary.
Mayor,
Well,
if I could,
what would be the protection making them for the city? How would the city be better off or not better off with or without the license? And Councilman Smith, you had something to say?
yeah, I just wanted to point out the way that I'm reading this the changes in the ordinances. The only people that need to buy the bonding and the insurance is the commercial haulers. And then there's nothing that says that the commercial self-generating haulers has to have a bond or anything. So I think it's pretty clear that this ordinance really covers, the licensing part covers commercial haulers only. But I think it's in the definitions where it's a little bit, I mean, they're trying to set it out so that we can distinguish between the people who do this just occasionally, but are not in the solid waste business. So that's what I wanted to point out. I don't think there's a lot of changes that need to be made to the bond part and any of that part. I think what we really need to concentrate on is making sure that the language that we are putting in does not prohibit the occasional person from running their little pickup out to the dump. You know what I mean? And I think that's where it's at.
Here's the thing too, I think we need to have some language in there that protects the city. And didn't have that, we got ourselves in trouble, and then all of a sudden we decided to make them oppose this big bond.
Yeah.
So I think what we need to do is have some language in there that says if they don't pay their bill, they don't go into the landfill. And we don't have any exceptions. We don't say, okay, you can pay us in a month. No, it's gotta be paid, as they use that landfill. If they violate that, they lose their right to the landfill.
Oh, I don't disagree with that at
That's the
all.
way I look at it.
But what I don't have clear in my mind is the way this is all written out, what's a commercial hauler? The guy that you pay $5 to take a pickup load out once a year? That's his only income, so is that his main business, and is he a commercial hauler?
A commercial hauler to me is the person that uses it, that's their livelihood, that's their job, period. Versus a person that does it one time in the summertime, or maybe, well, there's a difference.
So if he does it twice a month, it's okay, or 15 times a month, or 7.
No, if it's their livelihood, if that's what they make a living off of, period.
Well, but if that's all they do is haul your stuff once a year.
Hauling my yard for $5 isn't gonna give them, they're not gonna live.
Might be their only income.
I just want to
Councilman Gardner.
occasional hauling for money is still commercial hauling. There's no difference. If it's $1 million you haul or $10, it's still.
So what are you saying, that the guy for $10 cut him off?
You can't separate the two.
I
If
think
you
you can.
well then, if you can, then $1 million doesn't
So the
count
guy,
either.
takes,
I'm not gonna argue with you.
garbage can for $10,
You can't separate the two.
once a month, that's not a lot,
If it's
that's not
commercial hauling,
their income.
I'm just saying, if it's commercial hauling at any amount, it's still commercial hauling.
That's
$1 or
or
$1
I
million.
have too. Where do you draw the lines at?
We probably just need to
I just did.
change the definition, not
Well,
change it,
but how,
adapt it.
right, how do we, like, one of the people that we're talking about, their main income, 90% of it comes from something totally else.
Yeah, I'm
And then
thinking like
10% of it
MSW
comes from commercial hauling, so
versus construction.
versus whatever. And then the construction guys haul more than this guy hauls, so he has to buy a license, commercial guy. This is,
Yeah, that's, I
The-
think.
the
we need to
problem
get into
is
the MSW
there,
version.
the easiest way is just to say we have 2 commercial haulers. And that's and the reason for MSW and not the other is, you can park a truckload of bricks in front of my house and it's not gonna scare my neighbors and stink me out and such like that. But there is a problem with municipal waste, and there's a way huge risk factor with municipal waste that there is not with C&D, so, I mean,
So MSW haulers are licensed and anything else is not.
that's what I'd like to simplify things, to be honest with you. That would cure the whole problem, and it would solve a huge mess, and it would make it simpler and better for business. You know, the one thing we wanna do is get stuff hauled out of our town and to the dump,
Yes.
so let's,
And avoid them getting dumped on these back streets and.
right, and that sort of thing. So, as far as I'm concerned, I'd like to do away with the licensing except for the And we have 2 of them now, but like I said, we could have 30. I mean, I don't wanna say we have 2 and we'll always have 2, because that might not be the case. Somebody might decide to come in and compete.
Sure.
And I don't wanna stop that either, but, if they do or don't have a license, I mean, the city's gonna be enriched by $125. And they're gonna spend about 3 times that keeping up with them licenses and making sure that every year, and here we go, and checking, you know what I mean? So we're not making money at that, but we're costing that small business a tremendous amount of money by making them put up these huge bonds and such like that. I don't know where the problem came from, but I personally would like to make it MSW only. But the last time I talked about it, that it didn't seem like it was gonna go that way, but after looking at all these other problems that it creates, it's hard to draw that line. You know, the guy that hauls once a week, once a month, once every 3 months, or, I mean, if he's getting paid to haul it, he's doing it commercially. And
That's just kind of a thing.
then that's just kind of a thing. Patrick?
I did check around, other landfills like Casper, Laramie, Rock Springs, see what they were doing. They're just doing the MSW, they're not doing construction. I asked why, they said it's hard to draw the line. Testing in the hot water, at MSW,
These guys have insurance. They already have insurance, and, they're already responsible for all those things. And actually, some of them have choices. Do you wanna deliver it to our landfill, or do you wanna take it to Saratoga? And, we're in business, and I want them bringing it here, because it helps us. So, anybody else got anything for discussion? We're gonna have to take a break before our meeting starts. I see, everybody's like, you're getting ready. Anybody else? Okay, I'm gonna, all right, this workshop will be adjourned.
Yeah, I think that MSW is the way to do it.
It's just 2 minutes.
Well, then, again, we can readdress it if issues arise.
Right, but it's not really the issue.
long day, long trip.
It's like the unofficial dog park for all of the yeah, over there.
Okay,
Your councilman is your one. Aaron's your. So since you like to lean back. All the way forward. Yeah, Aaron back there. And then Chris is over there. Well, I had just said, I'm gonna put it in the back. You know, we'll start that meeting. I know it's hard, yeah. They are, and they're picking it better over the, so. Nobody, usually have to do something.
I was on,
Do you have to do the previous, like, just the headquarters? Here's the one that I did. Okay, friends of ours. I had like two people that lived in it, I was just, I mean, like, they're probably not like bad, so I don't know.
I don't always. I don't, because I just don't always. Well, yes, I would have to go with my phone, and I don't do that all the time. They don't, because I have to go.
Yeah, so actually, I came out here to work, the headquarters for the Rollins, at the time it was the Rollins. I was there for about 2 years.
Wow.
So in the afternoon, it's Joey show, but in the morning, we do O'Reilly, that's my boss, he's he and Don.
Yeah, if you have her down here, if you have like comments. Well, and if you, yeah, they're all, yeah, I can always say, they're all, yeah. And the third one, like, if you just want to read it, someone else. Because I don't talk it. Right there. I wonder it.
So I was at, first one, I did see it, and then
Oh, you need for your things out there. Oh, I think the next one. Oh, yeah.
Sound good.
Well, and like I said, I think whatever you do. I know. Well, and have you been working with Jennifer or, Jennifer? I mean, who was your contact with her? Garcia, I would just call her and see what's best for you not.
yeah. Right, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I enjoy it, and I never seen those.
Good. Okay. Well, thank you for telling me.
I have to get into that, so
I don't see a plate of hot dogs. What the heck? Thank you, you only have one job. Right, and we have,
No, actually, you know, I still think that they're, doing road construction out the back, between Jack and Greg, and they got that whole highway out there. So, I mean, this literally, I would stop there, like 30 or 45 minutes, waiting on the car, and I'm thinking, I don't even know if it's a regular meeting at this rate, you know?
they actually came to the commissioners' meeting to tell them about that, because that was gonna be such a tore up road.
Oh, it's.
And there's so much traffic, they actually came to a commissioners meeting to say, hey, we're tearing this road up, just so you guys know.
Yeah, that's good. I'm telling you, down here in Cheyenne, and, oh, this has been tore up for 2 years now. Yeah, and it's crazy. It is what it is. I made it. I didn't make it to much of that work.
Yeah, we had such a great year.
I'm at work.
Hey, man. It was fantastic. I was just gonna say, I was just gonna play the hot dogs and burgers. Oh, there we go, there we go.
Oh, I got it.
Nice to see you again.
How are you?
Good.
Still want hot dogs?
Yeah, worker. Yes, sir. That's so good. Nice to see you again.
Food was so good.
I'm sorry.
I had, yeah. Oh,
I had such a great interview like that. It goes on the phone.
yeah.
Good. Not going nothing.
Give me a call if you need anything else. Yeah, give me a call if you need anything. Okay, I appreciate you here. Thank you.
And you don't have to, it doesn't have to be business, it can be, where do I buy a chainsaw, I know.
Can I do that at 2 in the morning or not?
Yes, I'll hate you, but you can do it.
Good deal.
You as well, welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah, it should be pretty. Oh,
Yeah,
the meeting.
absolutely.
Yeah, should be pretty straightforward.
Poking eye out there. Yeah, I have to start wearing my glasses.
I think we need the other one.
Now you guys can't avoid them. These are like the nice ones that the commissioners have, and actually hear with them. My audio appreciates it.
Yeah, I got a couple words for your audio.
Okay, is everybody ready?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I'll call this meeting to order. It is now 7:34. Would you please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much. I'm ready for roll call.
Okay, Mayor Terry Wyckoff,
Here.
Vice Mayor Jacqueline Wells. Here. Councilmember Aaron Dirk,
Here.
Councilmember Darrell Gardner.
Here.
Councilmember Jabari Martinez,
Here.
Councilmember Linda Smith,
Here,
Councilmember Chris Weisenberg,
Here. All right, thank you. Next thing on our agenda is a public hearing for an emergency ordinance of, the governing body of the city of Rollins, amending Rollins Municipal Code, section 13.10.010, water use management. For anybody that would like to speak on this issue? Hearing none, I will close the public hearing, and we'll move on to, the next thing on the agenda is the public participation. I wanna let you know that we do have this on our agenda, and we allow the public to come here and speak for 5 minutes, up to 5 minutes, on things that are bothering them, things that they want us to know, and such like that. It is limited because of the limited amount of time. I did receive an email the other day that talked about the fact that a lot of times we listen to public comment, but we don't engage the commenters normally, and I will explain to you why that is. A lot of times people sit and they think about something, and they think about all the different aspects, and they take their time to learn and to educate themselves about a certain subject, and then they come here to our meeting and discuss it with us. A lot of times, we're hearing things for the first time, or things we don't know every single thing about, so we listen, and that's what we're here to do, is listen. So just because we don't comment back, and we don't normally engage people during the public hearing part, don't think that we're not listening. Each and every person here listens to every word you have to say. We take it seriously. We go and do our research, and I will tell you, more times than not, somebody will then reach out to you, and to help, solve the problem or make it better. So don't be offended that we don't react right away to you, and, I just wanted to make that clear. So is there anybody that would like to approach the council as far as citizens' participation tonight? But say, when you get here, introduce yourself, or who you are.
I think I know.
You already know the procedure, I'm sure, but.
I'm Linda Klink, this is Kayla Claire, and we're with the Wyoming Business Council, represent the Wyoming Main Street Program. I appreciate enabling us to talk. We're not here to complain about anything, we're here to actually celebrate, Rollins Main Street, DDA. We're here tonight because, annually, the National Main Street Center and the Wyoming Main Street Program does an assessment on each of their programs. And they have to meet 6 stringent standards in order to be accredited by the National Main Street Center. And this year, of course, Rollins has completed all those standards successfully. And so we're here tonight to present you with the certificate of their accreditation. And we just want to talk a lot about how the Main Street program a lot of times sets the foundation for programs and helps a lot of things to happen even within the whole community. We're getting ready to roll out some programs through the Wyoming Business Council, and being a Main Street is going to help those, some of those communities access funds and programs already because they already have that foundation of the 6 accreditation standards, which is broad community support. It's about having a well-rounded program, managing the 4 points. And they already do that. They have the leadership and they have the community transformation information available that helps them prepare them for some of these programs that will be coming out. And we're just real proud that Rollins is been accredited again, and we're proud. I'm getting ready to leave, so I'm glad we were able. I'm retiring on Friday, but I really wanted to come to Rollins because my first year was when Rollins got the GAMSA Award, and it was such an honor for me to be able to be there and help celebrate that. So I was glad to be able to come today. Hi, Linda. So anyway, Linda's been on several of our best practices workshops. So I have the accreditation here and glad to present it to you. And then Kayla.
Yes, in addition to that accreditation certificate, we also have a certificate of appreciation for you all as the City of Rollins, the Mayor, and the City Council, just to extend our appreciation to you in support of the Main Street Rollins and general downtown revitalization. So with that, I'd like to present Mayor with you with these certificates.
Without the support of the city, none of the success would be possible, so it's I really appreciate that.
Well, thank you very much.
We're gonna miss you, Linda.
Thank
Gonna miss you, Linda.
Look, we even lit up your good side.
Yeah. Well, that's right above my head, not my halo, it's the head. Thank you. Anybody else that would like to participate tonight? All right. Going once, going twice. All right, next thing on our agenda is approval of the minutes of, July 20th. Councilman Durst.
Mr. Mayor, I move to approve the city council regular minutes of July 20, 2021 as presented.
Do I hear a second?
I'll second that.
There's been a motion made and seconded to approve the city council regular meeting minutes of July 20th, 21 as presented. Is there any further discussion? Please open online voting.
Voting is open. Voting has now closed, the motion passes with 6 yeas and 1 abstain. Vice Mayor Jacqueline.
Okay, thank you. The next thing on our agenda is to approve the minutes of, or to approve our agenda, excuse me. Councilman Martinez.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion to approve the agenda as presented. Is there
There's been a motion made and seconded to approve the August 3rd, 2021 city council agenda as presented. Any further discussion? Please open online voting.
Online voting is open. Online voting has now closed, the motion passes with 7 yeas.
All right, thank you. The next thing on our agenda is kind of a cool thing. I like it every time, and it's an employee of the second quarter. And I would turn the floor over, to you, Sean.
Right. Come on up. So this is always fun to do this. Sherry was nominated as our employee of the quarter, so if we could give her first off a round of applause. So this is a nomination that's done through her peers or whoever wants to nominate, and then, our department heads then kind of choose between the people that are nominated, and so, she has several nominations, not just one. There's lots of people that notice all the good things that she does, and I wanted to take just a second to read one of those, some great comments about Sherry. So Sherry is always working in the background to make things easier for others, is the person who makes sure the front doors at City Hall are open each morning prior to 8. She disinfects the chamber after each meeting and making sure it's ready for the next meeting. The last week or so, she's also taken it on to speed with collecting trash from everyone's office on the first floor. So he's very fortunate to have someone like her, and that's why I want to nominate Sherry Hicken. And I have got to say too, I have noticed that a lot. She's always kind of a little bit in the background, but always doing good things for other people and very selfless, and she's awesome. So again, she's very well deserving of this. I have a little gift for you, but we don't have it tonight, but we'll be getting to you soon. But again, let's give her a round of applause. We're gonna snap a picture of that.
I'll go overhead and ready.
We're gonna smile, right?
Yeah, we got our smile, our eyes smile.
Yeah.
Smile with your eyes. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you, Sean, and thank you, Sherry.
Congratulations, Sherry.
All right. You have a lot of hard workers. Next thing on our agenda is the city, manager's report, and so Sean, I will turn it over to you.
Thank you. Honorable Mayor and Council, I just have a few updates for you tonight. As first to start off, you notice we're in the map tonight. Councilman Wells can probably attest that the numbers of COVID, people that are getting COVID are kind of ramping back up, and so we're just following suit with that and trying to wear masks more frequently. Brought these dividers back in, and we'll put some official protocol in place pretty soon this week that we'll send out to staff. Secondly, there's a paper that I passed around just wanted to share it with you. I shared it with our department heads this morning. We have a council agenda timeline, and this is what we want to aim for so that we have enough time to get things in the newspaper in the appropriate amount of time, gives us enough time to make sure we've reviewed anything that needs to come to council so that we're well prepared. And so draft ordinances, our goal is to have 2 weeks prior to the meeting where, like, say, one of our employees wants to do one of those, they'll send it to me, to legal, city clerk, so we have time, give us a week to kind of vet through that, work through it and make sure we have a good product for council. Then, all other items, they'll submit a week prior to the meeting to city clerk and the board doc, so. And then, just wanted to share that with you, that's what we're aiming for, and I think for everyone, it actually helps us all, so. And then our goal is to, with each presentation that we do moving forward, and we've been doing a pretty good job with this already. I've modified this slightly, but every item, whether it's on a work session or it's at the council meeting, we'll have the presenter, it'll have the subject, just kind of in a natural flow here. We'll talk about the background and history of an item, staff's analysis of that item, pros, cons, alternatives, and then a summary and recommendation. So we'll try to follow that each time. And then, of course, we'll get any documents that we have for the meeting, we'll attach there. I wanted you to be aware of that. Mark and I have chosen a date to be able to do a tour of the water distribution system up in south of town. So that's August 21st at 9 o'clock to 2 o'clock p.m. We chose those Saturdays so that more people could attend if they'd like to. A couple of staff members will join us, and if you could just let me know this week, next week, if you'd like to attend.
I'll go.
Okay.
August 21st, to go look at the springs.
That'd be great. So,
It's a Saturday.
yeah, Saturday, August 21st. So,
Yes,
Mayor would like to.
I responded to something earlier, but for sure I will go.
Is there anyone else, like, right now that knows that?
Yes, I do, Will.
Okay. Okay, awesome. Well, it'll be great. And then the next item, we have received, or will be receiving soon, community gap funding. So we really appreciate that funding, that we get each year, and this year it's gonna be $10,228. So I just wanna thank Wyoming Community Gap for being a community partner and contributing. So last time, the council decided to take $10,322 towards the dog park. And then what I was thinking I could do this time, I'll try and get this on the next agenda, but I can bring a few different options for the council to consider. And I already have that list of things that I brought before to the council, just so you have some things to think about. So that'll be coming your way pretty soon. And then the last item I wanted to just briefly touch on is when we went to the WAM conference, we found out about an opportunity to apply for CDBG grants. Just wanted to share some timelines with you. They have kind of a short fuse for us to try and get some of this funding, but we'd like to try. So August 10th, which is gonna be next Tuesday morning, staff is gonna meet with the CDBG office, or Wyoming Community Development Authority, and we're just gonna kind of vet some of the ideas that could be used for CDBG, and we're gonna go through an application with them so that we understand that. And Jason has been kind enough to, that this week he's gonna try and go through an application process and kind of go through that process and get familiar with it so that those other people that wanna apply can kind of just get right on it. And then August 17th, we'll bring some proposed projects, that we would like to consider the council to help us approve and move forward so we can try and apply for some grants. Then August 30th, we have to submit a letter of intent to the Wyoming Community Development Authority, and so there'd be a letter of intent for each project that we wanna bring. September 7th, would be, so we have to do 2 readings in order for them to accept the grant application. So September 7th would be the first reading, September 21st would be the second reading, that's their requirement. Then mid-November, the board needs to discuss proposed CDB projects that have been out there. And then January, they send out award letters for the successful candidates. So, we want to do this because we want to help our city. And we can offset some of the current capital expenditures that we have and use it in other ways. We want to do that. So, and that's all I have.
Thank you. All right, now the next thing on the agenda is the city council reports and direction to the city. Does anybody have anything they would like to report?
Mayor, I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
I would like to ask, thank you. I received a phone call today from a younger person who lives up in Trenton Court area. And apparently we are working on Larson Street and the construction, she's worried that the construction on Larson Street will prohibit anyone from going in and out of that area, which is Trenton Court and up behind the Redstad area. And so I was wondering if provisions have been made to for through traffic to be able to go in and out of there. I thought usually they do one side of the street and then they do the other side of the street so you can come back and forth or have access. But I was worried that, could I have somebody check it out, I guess is my main issue. Make sure people have access to Trenton Court.
Definitely will check into that. You have.
Thank you.
And that Ware Course project that's going on there, they are doing one side than the other. But also, they're trying to get it all done in one day, where they can. But it's only down for 12 hours or so. Just a Ware Course, down for 12 hours, and then at the end of the day, 5, 6 o'clock at night, then you can drive on it again. Really quick process. It's not like we're tearing everything up in that area.
That is a circular drive to where they have another exit or entrance to go to, correct?
And some of those courts, they don't. I'm not really sure with that court, it's a circular where they would have another entrance. They'll do the whole thing in one day is what they try. One side, back and do the other side. Have it done so you can drive on it that evening.
The people that live there know that.
They put out the notices the day before, days before.
Okay,
So it's not like they just show up and do it.
right.
They put out the notices and let everybody know. And it's been going pretty quick. Like, we've been getting through it quickly. Doing actually 2 projects at one time.
That answer your question, Councilman Smith?
Yes, thank you very much. I will call her back.
Welcome.
Councilman Martinez?
I have a number of calls on the overpass, and I just wanna throw this out there that we should be on board for federal funding overpasses, and I think the chance that the federal government would be released to give it to municipalities, and is right there when that money is available. Very, very big project.
Just a quick comment for that, Council. Our first disbursement for funding for, and as soon as we get it, I'll let the council know. And we'll get it in 2 parts, one that will be right now, and then the other half will come in a year. That is what you just said is a way we could use the money.
If anyone has, if you have any questions or any of the citizens have a question.
Thank you. All right. Next thing on our agenda is, unfinished business. We are second reading of this ordinance. I would entertain a motion. Vice Mayor Wells.
I move to approve second reading and waive the reading of the ordinance by the governing body of the city of Rollins, Carbon County, Wyoming, rescinding ordinance number 04-2020, amending Title 19 of the Rollins Municipal.
Do I hear a second?
Okay.
Been a motion made and seconded to approve second reading and waive the reading of the ordinance by the governing body of the city of Rollins, Carbon County, Wyoming, rescinding ordinance 04-2020, amending Title 19 of the Rollins Municipal Code. Is there any further discussion? Councilman Durst?
I guess just for, clarification and clarity for everybody out there, we'll have a public hearing on the third reading on the next meeting, correct? Just for clarification, so everybody would know, I just wanted to.
Any further discussion? Please open online voting.
Voting is open. Voting has closed, the motion passes with 7 yeas.
Thank you. Next thing on our agenda is, approve the payroll. Vice Mayor Wells.
I move to approve the July 4th, 2021 through July 17th, 2021, $1,779.44.
There's been a motion made and seconded to approve the July 4th, 2021 through July 17th, 2021 payroll register for the amount of $235,779.44. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, please open online voting.
Online voting is now open.
Oops.
Voting has closed, the motion passes. Ayes and 1 abstain.
On our agenda is, accounts payable. Do I hear a motion?
Mr. Mayor, I move to approve the accounts payable register for the period of July 15, 2021 to July 29, 2021 in the amount of $419,632.22.
Second.
There's been a motion made and seconded to approve the accounts payable register for the period of July 15, 2021 to July 29, 2021 in the amount of $419,630.22. Further discussion? Open online voting.
Open. The motion passes with 7 yeas.
Next thing on our agenda is, parking retail license application number 87. Vice Mayor Wells.
I move to approve on parking retail liquor license number 87, Japanese Steakhouse 2, as Ichiban Japanese Steakhouse, period of August 4th, 2021 to March 31st, 2020.
There's been a motion made and seconded to unpark retail liquor license number 87, Ichiban, Japanese Steakhouse 2, Inc., DBA Ichiban Japanese Steakhouse for the period of August 4th, 2021 to March 31st, 2021. Any, discussion? 2022, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Councilman Weisenberg, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I just wanna make sure everything's set in place, Amy or Sean, with all the, this training and all that stuff, and everything.
Yeah, that's it, training. And,
Yes, everything is compliant. We actually completed it at the police station, after they all passed. Spoken to the liquor division and everything, and all the, file is good to go. They just, myself, once you guys approve it, send it to the liquor division.
I guess, on that note, I just wanna say congratulations to the gentleman, a lot of hard work and dedication went into, revamping that building, and it's gonna be a great addition to Rollins. I wanna say thank you and welcome to Rollins with that business.
I will say on behalf of the council, thank you very much for investing in our town. I think that's your place. With much anticipation, I can't wait to eat there, and I wish you a lot of success, and thank you.
Can I say something?
Yes, you may.
So, since this year we started model, we get a lot of help from the community, like Chris, Rick, Tom, so, and Janet, so you might help me. So I really appreciate it. So this is my 6th restaurant in Wyoming, so due to the other 5 restaurants is all successful, so I can guarantee, so make the customer happy with us here. So, this is here, Brown, the manager, the Jeffrey. He's a very good hibachi chef in Evanston, Ichiban. So after he moved to here, so many customers sat there, so in Evanston. So I say, you can meet him here in Orange. This one is my kitchen head chef, Annie. He used to together with me in 2016 at Sapporo in Rock Spring, and he's the master chef too. So I bring more very, very good chefs in town soon now. Yeah, thank you so much, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Please open online voting.
Athens are gonna open, just happen to blow their heads if they don't open soon.
It's all over it.
Yeah.
Online voting is open.
You're opening soon, right? 'Cause like half the town's ready to just pop.
In next couple of days.
There we go.
Let's eat.
I have it.
Online voting has closed, the motion passes with 7 yeas.
All right. Congratulations and thank you again. All right. So the next thing on our agenda is approve the emergency, I'm doing this right? Next thing on our agenda is the replacement of water treatment filter screens, and Councilman Martinez.
Mayor, I make a motion to approve the emergency purchase of sole source for the replacement of the water treatment filter.
There's been a motion made and seconded to approve the emergency purchase of the sole source, for the replacement of water treatment filter screens. Any further discussion? Councilman Weisenberg?
So is this, filter just for number 1?
Can I ask, did you have any luck getting a hold of John Winter?
I did.
And,
I'm gonna go out and see him next week.
okay, good. And I'm sorry, I left a message for him, and when they don't call me back, I forget. And so, I thought about that, and I did call John, and
Yeah, they've got 2 pods.
That's kind of what he said, but he wasn't sure about the specs and his guy wasn't there and all that. I hope that works out for us. You're welcome. Good friend. Any further discussion? Please open online voting.
Online voting is open. Online voting has closed, the motion passes with 7 yeas.
Okay, thank you. The next thing on our agenda is the Walnut Street Rehab, project. Vice Mayor Wells.
I move to approve $300,000 of specific purpose tax funding for the installation of approximately 1,300 of 12-foot sanitary sewer and manholes between 7th and 3rd.
Second?
I think it's 12 inch.
Is it 12 inch?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Right. You accept that amendment?
Yes.
Okay.
Thanks.
There's been a motion made and seconded to approve, $300,000 of the specific purpose tax funding for the installation of approximately 1,300 feet of 12-inch sanitary sewer and manholes between 7th and 3rd Street. Is there any discussion? Councilman Weisenberg?
Yeah, I have it's not it's kind of a concern of getting to that, it'll get to that point. This is the first change order. I understand exactly how change orders work. So we're looking at a $300,000 change order for this specific one alone. That's not including what they'll come for in the future. Are we keeping track of exactly how much the change orders are coming to and everything like that? Because otherwise, we're gonna be pushing the limit to the top of that budget for that.
You know, we look at it very closely. This change order specifically save in the long run thousands of dollars. You won't have to go, sewer line was not included in the complete street rehabilitation. We're replacing water line, we're replacing all the sanitary, pulling up the street base up. Sewer line wasn't included. Sewer line's 80, 90 years old. In the ground brick manholes. We don't do it as part of this project now. We're gonna go back in a few years. What happened?
It's coming one way or another.
I understand that totally.
So if that's what this is for, as far as, there have been no other change orders in this project. We're definitely, every change order.
Can you keep us posted, if you would, about the amount? I mean, obviously, we'll have to approve change orders and everything, I
I do
understand
have
that, just a total amount.
Some good
Coming
news
forward.
with that. 300,000 officially is now 203,000.
Is there a reason that wasn't, put in there also in the original bid, knowing that that sewer line was that, old?
Well, we have the same question, not sure why a sewer line wouldn't just start a whole reconstruction, but I'm glad that we are.
So are we looking at that for the, Edinburgh Street also, at this point in time?
No.
Does have that in there? Okay.
Councilman Martinez?
Yes.
Thank you about the project, I'm excited about it.
Yeah.
I guess my question would be, adding the other, the 3,000, how's that gonna affect the county budget projects that we?
This is coming still under the budget that we budgeted as the council for this project.
Okay.
It's, about 100,000 under, Joe, correct, in my.
I just wanted to say thank you for catching that. It's silly when we go in and do a whole project and then have to rip up the streets a few later, so.
It's the worst thing we can do.
Mayor. Also, I
People say
believe
it.
that this is part of the 6 penny part of the 6 penny funding that we voted on several years back, so I didn't find anything irregular with it. So I think it's a good move. Thank you.
And thank you.
Any further discussion? Amy?
Honorable Mayor and Council, I would just ask if we could that I identified the sewer fund budget number for the 6 penny, budget number, so I would ask the council to amend as presented, and that I will make those changes to replace 2.303760 with 10.4303.740. Walnut Street rezone. Carrie, I'll do that.
Terry, I got a question, or Amy, does this need to be amended also from the 300,000 to the price of 203,700?
The resolution has the exact amount from the change order. We'll incorporate the change order and attach it as well to the document, so that should be complete, identifying the incorrect fund number.
Thank you. Any further discussion?
Whoever seconded it needs to approve the second.
Who seconded it?
Derek.
Who?
Approved my.
Yeah, it was me, I think it was me.
I'll second it.
Well, it was seconded. Do you accept her friendly
Yeah,
amendment?
yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Okay, so we're good. Any further discussion? Please open online voting.
Online voting is open. Online voting has closed, the motion passed.
Thank you. Next thing on our agenda is another change order. I would entertain a motion. Councilman Garner.
I move to approve resolution of the governing body of the city of Rawlins, Carbon County, Wyoming, authorizing change order number 1, should the 2020 manhole replacement project relating to additional charges in the amount of $4,973.10.
Been a motion made and seconded to approve resolution of the governing body of the city of Rawlins, Carbon County, Wyoming, authorizing change order number 1 to, the 2020 manhole replacement project relating to additional charges in the amount of $4,970.10. Any discussion? And, Mark, you're up.
Here's the money.
Yeah. It's, and the project is below budget. Did leave off manhole number 4, has fiber and a gas line right over the top of it. We'll come back next year. Those have all that manhole across the street. Trying to work with the fiber and dig around that fiber right there and the right thing to do, common sense.
Councilman Weisenberg?
Sorry to be the negative person here, I guess, but do we have plans, moving forward to prevent this from happening again? Because this, change order is, due to issues locating manholes in the GIS mapping provided to the city. This were in there, and then, it says that failed to use the staff failed to use cameras to obtain visual confirmation of the manholes, which increased the contractor's time and has delayed the project's completion. So what's the future for this?
Absolutely. Next year, the manhole project, the contractor will run his own cameras. Off.
Further discussion? Please open online voting.
Online voting is open. Voting has closed, the motion passes with 78.
Thank you. Next thing on our agenda is, an emergency ordinance of the governing body. I would entertain a motion. Councilman Garner.
Move to approve an emergency ordinance of the governing body of the City of Rawlins, Carbon County, Wyoming, amending Rawlins Municipal Code, Section 13.010, water use management, level D.
There's been a motion made and seconded to approve an emergency ordinance of the governing body of the City of Rawlins, Carbon County, Wyoming, amending Rawlins Municipal Code, Section 13.10.010, water use management, level D, recommended action. Councilman Garner?
The reason I, recommended this action is I received an email from a constituent, regarding using the level D, enforcement. And his recommendation was to give an incentive to try to get people, you know, if we're in a situation where we need to get water, his recommendation was an incentive, try to, or get more people to get involved to bring that water level down, or water usage down. And I agreed with him, and I called Mark later, and we talked to him. One of the concerns we had in the meeting, we passed, the emergency, enforcement on water, was 1,000-gallon limit. That was, customer brought it up that it's low. From looking at bills, my bills, that's winter usage, you know, that's, you can get down. During the summer, it's much higher. And so I didn't think, that's why I recommended the 10,000 to 20,000 be where this first surge, that increases that bottom number, which is, helps all the citizens, a little bit easier to obtain, and adjusted all the surcharge rates up from there. So instead of, I think before it was 6,000 gallons to 20,000, you got a 25% surcharge. And anything over 20,000 gave you 100. Looking at my own bills and talking to other people, that 20 and up, it's a hard number. So getting to 20 is like a hard number, even with the water,
Water and stuff.
yeah, just even with the 1 day, or once every other day in place. So that's why I recommended, the tiered, percentages rather than it go from, 20,000, that'll be 100%, 10 to 20, 25, 20 to 30, 75, and 30 and up is the 100.
I misspoke at the last meeting. The 6,000 gallons a month stuck in my head. That's about what my wife and myself and one chihuahua uses, in the winter. The summer, I was wrong. It goes way higher than that. I looked and it is higher. It's 23,000, I think, last month. We have a huge lawn, and I'm very frugal about watering the lawn, but still, that's what it costs. And in the winter, it was 6,000 or so. And I can see where family members that have 4, 5, 6 members that take showers, and then, of course, and clothes washing, those are the three. The average household in the United States, I think, I looked, is 500 gallons a day. So it was much higher than I thought. I just don't know if I'm for or against this, because I just don't have enough information. Just so you know,
one of the other things, when I was talking to Mark, one of the things, I read the letter to him that was sent to us, so he can, and then I gave him the idea, or read this to him, what I was thinking of, and he said in previous employment, he used, his experiences, but, and correct me if I'm wrong, Mark, the 10,000 and up was kind of a recommended use, minimum use, when we were talking 9 to 10, wasn't it?
That's the number that we're talking. You really have to kind of look at your community as well. Give the citizens a number that they're comfortable with, that economically they can deal with. You don't want to have it too low. You also don't want to have it too high. Conservation is really purely controlled by your pocket rates and what it costs for that. We talked about that. That's a number that does not give constituents very much comfort. And it wouldn't give me comfort either, thinking that I could get a 25 or 100% less than 10,000 gallons. There's a lot of things that we can do. The thing that we really ought to do for the right thing for our citizens is to end that bottom number. It's kind of like a police officer. Rollins PD says, well, you can drive 10 miles an hour over this month, I'm not going to give you a ticket. But if they pull you over for doing 7 over, they surely can give you a ticket. They're well within their right, and so are we over 6,000 gallons. We said we're not going to. But it just hard for someone to say, you said you're not going to, and they still used 8,000 gallons. But I think if we were gonna do something to change it now, that would be the only thing that I'd recommend to change. Then maybe forming a committee, of the other water conservation things that we can do. Removal of sod, incentive to remove that sod, that's a proven program. Proven in Las Vegas, the Southern Nevada Water Authority, in Phoenix, the Metropolitan Water District, works. Removal of sod is a permanent reduction. You get somebody, and the incentive is monetary, remove that sod, it doesn't go back in. Look at your future landscaping, future construction. And this is from a committee, not come together, form a committee. What is the size of let's say, backyard sod that we want to restrict, or say the size that you can put in? Not overbearing, it's standard, it happens all throughout the West. But it has to be a committee. And that decision might not be the one you come up with. I think it's something that you look at.
I respect what you're trying to do, try to get our water levels up. Just in a work session of, talked about somewhere down the line, we might have to raise, price of our water. Secondly, we have residents that don't have a meter, charge them a flat rate. How do we charge them if we're gonna get it or have a flat? So those are some things that I believe that we ought to leave it as it is. We're gonna be working on this sure. And water rates at that time we can make some on trying to build our levels in our reservoir. That's my.
Councilman Weisenberg?
Yeah, Councilman Gardner, I wanna say thank you for, bringing this forward and putting this together. I kinda echo what Councilman Martinez has said here. I think it's kind of would be kind of putting a unset standard out there, a difference. I think a big thing we preach about is beautification, in our community and moving forward on that kind of stuff. With that being said, if you tell me I get a credit at 6,000 gallons, way more than I do at 10,000 gallons, I don't need a lawn. That's gonna be what other people in our community think too. The other thing is this stuff is ran off of an enterprise fund that is lacking, as current as it is now. So if we're gonna credit 20%, that has to come out of an enterprise fund. And, I think that's where we'll get ourselves in trouble with that too. And also, I don't know, I would like to know exactly what, our Cassell software would allow us to do in all this stuff too, because if it's gonna increase the hours and, of the operation in the finance department, I mean, it's putting an undue burden on them also, I believe.
Councilman Gardner?
I just wanna make sure everybody's clear, this would only be in the case where we have, an emergency water use provision. It wouldn't be, and I understand what you're saying with the, that's where they want the water use at. They don't want, that wouldn't be the purpose, it's just to try to drive them, to help them get down there. You know, if they can get down there, reward them for getting there, and they.
I do understand that this is only for this, water restriction or, an ordinance for that too. I do understand that. I just think, we need a lot more information, given to us before I could, go with this. I think the other thing though, we've, talked about, and we've kind of said through enacting the other ordinance or passing that resolution last time, we're gonna educate, right? So if we keep changing this around right now and do this, that's gonna prompt citizens, I believe, to just go crazy possibly and change the way they're thinking, right? I think we should just keep educating right now, and work on that other ordinance. It gives us time to work on that other ordinance. So as long as we do not charge them a surcharge.
I actually really like this. In the beginning, I was a little iffy, and I thought, I might have to, throw down and fight you with this, but I actually think it's really solid. I think it incentivizes at the right levels for the right reasons. I think my question might be, between 10 and 20,000, what if we broke that so that you didn't just hit an immediate 25% surcharge, so that, because I think probably the largest percentage of people are probably gonna fall in that maybe 12 to 15,000 a month would be my guess, maybe. I don't, again, it's two of us and some cats, so I don't know what normal people do. But maybe, so between 10 and 13, 14 would be maybe 10%. And then from there to the 20 would be the 25%. That would be my only thoughts, so that if we hit that, where I think that the large majority of people might be, I mean, cause I look at, okay, so if I save 10%, I mean, in the end, my bill is roughly $50 a month, we're talking $5, right? I mean, I honestly think that either way, a citizen or the city can handle that $5. I think we're gonna be okay. And especially where this is gonna be a short term, probably, 30 to 45 days total from the beginning to the end that it's being played. So my only thoughts would honestly be, I think a different breaking between the 10,000 and the 20, put it, one more group in there would be my recommendation.
I like the idea, I think it incentivizes things. But I also know I don't wanna get in a hurry about this. There is no, serious thought of charging people extra right now, correct? For the water usage unless things get worse and people are working properly. So I think our current crisis will be over soon. It will rise again sometime in the future. I like Mark's idea about, forming some sort of a committee to look at this, to, cause these numbers aren't right.
Right.
The ones we have now are not right, the 6,000 and all that, I thought it was, it's not. I mean, I went and looked at my bills and I was embarrassed, cause I thought 6,000 a month was about what we use. Well, I have some other property that has no grass, and so I was using that as an example of how much am I gonna use there, and 6,000 is about the minimum. And, so those numbers, the numbers aren't right, but I would like to propose that we, form a committee to change this to where it is right, cause it's close, but I think we could even make what you presented even better. Does that make sense to everybody? Vice Mayor Wells?
I have a question on this chart.
Yes, ma'am.
Doesn't seem to me we're moving in the right direction even with the, we put it. I might be reading it wrong, but, a past council member also brought to my attention that the last time we put into some kind of emergency ordinance, that you actually saw a spike in usage.
Did.
People start to panic.
Well, I don't know about past years, but if you look at 7/14, that's when the heat came. The weekend that we got the 96, the 93, I asked people to cut back. Look at 7/20, which is a Tuesday, started greening. We started going up. We asked them not to water. Come along to 7/28, you see that dip just this last week. What we're gonna see for a normal Monday or Wednesday watering day. But if you compare 7/31 and 8/1, which are a Saturday and Sunday, pass, 7/24 and 7/25, look at the difference in how much less it actually fell over the weekend. Not great big numbers, but it's a couple of feet. We're making progress. Did make progress. It's not time to go out and say, woo-hoo, you know, we can take the restrictions off. But what it does say is that our citizens came together, and you can see that driving around. They haven't watered, and they're allowing us to catch back up. So that's why I wrote on here what the weekend days were. Saturday's a heavy day, right? We're home, that's why you pick Saturday, so people have the opportunity, a lot of people, to be home, to water and run their irrigation. We are making progress. Didn't drop as much as we had the weekend before. You know, what do we got, 6 weeks till maybe we get snow again, really, realistically?
Oh,
Middle of
don't say
September?
that.
It's coming, yeah.
The first snow, Farmer's Almanac, right? That's where I go look.
We don't talk about that.
Can we get to August now?
We're still planning on sun tans.
So it's gonna be 101 tomorrow, no, but we are making, and I think that we're on the right track with this water use, water restriction. Don't see, unless the citizens just decide they don't wanna stick with it, any change in that, because we are making some progress. We don't wanna beat people over there. This is about people working together, not apart. That's why honestly, Councilman Varner called me at absolutely, I thought that, and I still believe that 6,000 is too small, and I think we kind of believe that. Yeah. But we are going in the right direction. This rain, it's very blessed right now. Blessing that, you know, has come in. So I just should commend the citizens, but not say, you know, we're out of the woods yet. We'll have to have that fire protection. That's one of the main things we're looking at. Yes, we have to have good, clean, quality drinking water, but we also have to have water in adequate pressure for fire. It could happen. Plan for the worst and hope for the best. Maybe next week we'll come back, or 2 weeks from now, we'll say, maybe 10 feet. No, it's possible. And it's, looking at this, it could be very likely.
Well,
I
if
think
we get that filter, and it doesn't take 100 things to fix lucky breaks.
Absolutely it does. We're gonna get a couple of the leaks fixed. We'll be hearing more about that. And that we have going to come back to you. There's some more water coming down the pipe. We're going in the right direction without going overboard. We never wanna jump overboard. But when we came, we asked for these restrictions. 28th, you can see how low Painted Hills was. It was almost empty. That's not, sky is falling, that's just fact. Numbers, what the levels were. Not Mark's inference, not a percentage or a ratio, it's just where the level was. Yes, I was concerned. Feel a little better today. Feel better now that it's raining. Rain coming right now, and we are gaining. Taking the turn. Get that filter number 1 back, that's gonna help a lot. I appreciate you all passing that, approving that this evening.
Councilman Weisenberg.
Yeah, I think, Sean, you were gonna try and speak to the Cassell software at first.
Yeah, I did talk to finance today, because I was wondering what are our capabilities, and they're still kind of researching, trying to understand what that process will actually look like, because I think Cassell said that they probably could do something. I don't know exactly what that means, whether, you know, how much time and effort is it gonna, we don't know that yet.
And then, I guess the other thing, for Mark, one big thing citizens have been asking me about is, why do we water on, Monday, Wednesday, and Saturday, and not have it set where, odd numbers and even numbers water Monday, Tuesday? I mean, even to me, when I think about that, you have a graph here that on an odd day, you're gonna drop, right? Because everybody in the community is watering at that time, including the city. So what would be better? Is it everybody water on the same day, or is it we just would it be better to opposite that out?
You go to the odd even. Some communities do when there are only 2 watering days a week. That's the difference. Odd even, you don't have enough days of the week to give everybody.
I think you could work it where Monday, Wednesday, right? Tuesday,
You'd have
Thursday,
off
Saturday, Monday, Wednesday.
But you have to have the off days. You can't have every other day, you still have somebody watering every day of the week.
You could have everybody off on a Sunday and then start over again, and then if there's a month with 31 days in it, 31st don't get water.
You could.
I'm just thinking of a graph perspective, when I look at graphs, that we're steadily dropping and then everybody's watering on that. And
Looking at this graph, it's been a steady climb up, it's not going, I don't see the drops anymore. And on the busy days, it looks like it's just all the way up until yesterday, the second to the third, that was only real drop on Painted Hills.
We didn't have to drop this weekend. The answer really to your question, either way, The odd and even tends to be a little more confusing. You don't get the whole days without any water that you really run your plant. You get one day Sunday. It is confusing. It's confusing for a lot of people. I know communities that use it. It takes a while for people, you may fact that they have a hard time. Am I odd? Am I even? They're going and looking, my neighbor's watering, or that person's watering, they're really an even, they're not an odd. Educated conservation, community, much better program to try to institute with somebody who's a community that's used to conserving. When you're first out of the draw, just setting those days that make it easy for everybody to remember. Water on Monday, water on Wednesday.
Mayor,
Monday is-
I'm sorry, I didn't know if you were done. Mayor?
Yes, go ahead.
Sorry to interrupt, I didn't mean that, but I have a couple of comments. First of all, I would not want to change the regime of the days because that'd be too confusing to folks who are already just now getting set in their minds what days they need to water. I don't want to make any changes there because I don't want to confuse the public. The second thing is, on the ordinance or on the resolution that we're looking at, it does say may be instituted as follows. So there's no guarantee. I mean, it's at the discretion of the city manager whether he institutes these changes. But I like the idea of offering incentives to folks to help us conserve water rather than telling them they'll be penalized if they do over 20,000 gallons or 10,000 or whatever it is. And the third thing is, right now, we are not consistent with that other ordinance and what we are doing. And I think if we want to be consistent, then if we pass this resolution, we would be making that consistent for the city manager to rely upon. So that's just my comments. Thank you.
Any further discussion? Councilman Garner?
Who wanted to amend the wording? Could we do that before we vote and remove, like the big concern is the Cassell, how we would implement the credits. It sounds like everybody's on board with moving the minimum number up to 10,000. And then maybe entertain, I like the idea that Aaron had with, or Councilman Durst, was setting the percentages from the 50. That wouldn't affect to sell, correct? Because we're not doing a credit. But then we could adjust those percentages just in the, where we would have a surcharge. We amended that to read that way, would that?
So you made the original motion, so you could make an amendment and say that you move to amend it to read the way you would want.
Anybody can amend.
Correct. So you can make an amendment to change that, to just add in, what is it, from 10,000 to 15,000 would be 10%, and from 15 to 20,000 would be 25% surcharge.
And then at 20 to 30, at 50%, 30 and up would be 100. Instead of 20, I think we're, what, up is 100?
So you're at 20 to 30 is 75, and 30 and up is 100.
Oh, yeah,
I would just leave
on
those.
this, okay, just leave those, okay.
And I would second that amendment if you make that amendment.
And there, I'm asking because it sounds like we need to find out on Cassell on the 20%. If it's doable, and then, putting together a committee for the water, that sounds like a great idea, and maybe do that and then come back and figure out what percentages we.
So would you like a move to table? Would you take a motion to table then? Is that what you'd like?
I would like to move the 10,000 if anything tonight, up to, the minimum to 10,000.
Where there's no intention of, at this point, of enforcing this, I don't see that there's an immediate rush to get it done. I think the theory's right. I like numbers, where they really end up. Like, I would like to know before we do anything, how many people use 10,000 or less right now, and how many people use 10,000 more, such like that. So personally, I would rather, table this. We know what information we need to make a better decision. I just don't want to address this more than once. So,
Okay.
I personally would rather table it tonight, that information, then come back, plug in solid numbers, then you'll know what the bookkeeping's capable of. You'll know that. You will know what an average family's looking at and that sort of thing. And then have, more solid numbers that I would have more faith in voting if I had those information. Other than that, I feel like we're guessing.
No, I'm perfectly okay with tabling. That sounds good.
Sean?
Some of the, along with.
We've all told Daryl.
Would you like?
Yeah, I would, yeah.
I would sit in on that also if you needed a second person. Just so, and then when we go home tonight, everybody kind of write down some of your thoughts about what are these variables? What should we look at? What questions should we ask, like the bookkeeping? And think about it. Very important. You know, if you have anything like that, make sure to let everybody know so that when the committee does meet, we can consider all those things. Do this once. Because I agree, the 6,000, I thought it was, whatever. It's not even close to right. So,
About those people that are on the flat rate, there's no way of measuring how much water they use, if they use more or less. How do we adjust, how do we calculate that in this?
but I think that's another issue.
Not another issue, it's about water and how do we treat everybody fairly. And doing this is only treating half the population, or some of the population, others not. I think the committee would work to come up with some type of a program so that everybody's paying the same water across the board.
Without meters, how would you do that?
I don't know the answer to that. That's a discussion for the council. Appropriate to pay for it. The other thing is that when we raise cost of water, which I don't know if we will or not, but that's gonna come up. Guarantee that we're gonna be talking about that. That's gonna adjust how much water they use. Tell you that. That's another, that has to do with water.
But I agree, but like the people that in the Glen Edition that are unmetered, or other places,
I have no idea.
that's one place where there's a lot of users and they go through a master meter and they're not individually metered. That would be one treatment, but that's another thing the committee would have to look at is, are there other unmetered uses and such like that?
I would imagine.
Councilman Durst?
Well, I was just going to move to amend the original, motion to table the discussion, for 2 weeks until, how long would we table it for? Table until we have a
Indefinitely.
committee together?
Yeah.
Is that, cause this will probably go away before we need to address it by winter time.
Right.
So then we would have this in place. So I move to, amend the motion to table the discussion until till we have a committee formed to go over this information.
on the original motion was Daryl, and then the second one.
And then I made an amendment to that motion to table the discussion until the committee reforms. to
Actually, it's a
review this.
standalone motion.
Well, that would be an amendment to that motion, so does somebody else second the amendment?
To table. Point of order.
So there's been a motion made and seconded to amend the, yes?
Can we, modify table to postpone?
Yes, so moved, I would postpone instead of table.
Accept that? Okay, so the amendment is to postpone this, discussion until,
Committee can gather.
committee can meet and gather the information. Any further discussion on that motion? Open online voting? Then we have to vote on the original motion then, right?
If this one passes, then that ends it.
Okay,
If this fails, then we go to the original.
okay. Out here at 9 o'clock.
How dare you taunt him?
Thank you for waiting, online voting is open. Or would you like me to? Like, you're not all set, or you would like me to take your vote now?
For me?
Are you all set, or would you like me to put you?
No, I'm ready, it didn't come up, so I say no.
No? Okay, thank you. Online voting has closed, the motion passes with 6 yeas and 1 nay, and the nay with.
So do you want, Councilmember Gardner to be the point of contact for that?
I think Mark.
Or Mark, so we can email the questions we have?
Yeah, email them to Mark,
Okay.
or either one, it'll be the same thing, they'll both bring them to the. All right, we need to mess around for 6 more minutes. No way, I'm gonna stay adjourned before 9 o'clock. Is there anything else that needs to come before this body? No, sir. Hearing nothing, I'll adjourn this meeting, noting that the next meeting is August 17th, 2021, right here.
Same bat time,
Thank
same
you
bat
all.
channel.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Close down the.